You are listening to Bedtime Dreamy Tales. Please make sure you have subscribed to our channel for new story. Story title, Frederick and Catherine. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, lived a newlywed couple, Frederick and Catherine. They shared a small, cozy cottage at the edge of the village, surrounded by fields ripe with crops and a garden teeming with flowers and vegetables. Frederick was a hard-working farmer, and Catherine, his wife, was known for her good heart but not so much for her common sense. One sunny morning, Frederick prepared for a day of labor in the fields. Before he left, he turned to Catherine with a smile, saying, "My dear Catherine, while I'm away, could you prepare a sumptuous meal for us? I would love to have a juicy steak with some fine beer when I return." Famished from the day's work, Catherine nodded enthusiastically, replying, "Of course, Frederick. Leave it to me. You shall have your feast." As noon drew close, Catherine, wanting to please her husband, took out the best steak from the pantry and started frying it in the pan. The steak sizzled and turned golden brown, filling the kitchen with mouth-watering aromas. Thinking ahead, Catherine murmured to herself, "The steak will soon be ready. Time to fetch some beer from the cellar." She left the steak frying and went to the cellar with a large jug. In the cellar, as the beer flowed into the jug, a sudden thought struck Catherine. The dog. It might steal the steak. She gasped, rushing back to the kitchen. Her worst fears were confirmed. The cunning dog had grabbed the steak and was making its escape through the open door. Catherine chased the dog across the fields, but it was no use. The dog was faster and refused to drop the steak. Breathless and defeated, Catherine returned to the house, only to find another disaster. In her haste, she had left the beer tap open, and now beer flooded the cellar floor. Panicking at the sight of the spilled beer, Catherine remembered a sack of fine flour she had bought at the market. "I can't use it to soak up the beer," she thought. However, in her attempt to cover the spill, she accidentally knocked over the jug of beer she had managed to fill, adding to the mess. Now, with flour and beer covering the cellar floor, Catherine tried her best to clean up, leaving the cellar looking peculiarly white and clean, yet utterly wasted. When Frederick returned, eager for his promised feast, he was met with a tale of woe. Catherine recounted her attempts to prepare his meal, only to face one mishap after another. Frederick, bewildered by his wife's decisions, sighed deeply. "Oh, Catherine, how could all of this happen?" he lamented. Determined to prevent further accidents, Frederick decided to take precautions with their savings. He showed Catherine a bag of gold coins, explaining that he intended to hide it in the garden and warning her not to meddle with it. Catherine promised to heed his warning, unaware of the further chaos that awaited them. No sooner had Frederick left again than a group of traders arrived, offering pots and pans for sale. Catherine, seeing an opportunity to make amends, offered the yellow buttons in the garden in exchange for the goods. The traders, intrigued by the prospect of finding gold, agreed and dug up the treasure, leaving Catherine with a plethora of pots and pans but no gold. Frederick's dismay at losing his gold coins was immense, but Catherine, ever optimistic, suggested they could retrieve the gold by catching the thieves. Preparing for the journey, Catherine packed bread, butter, and cheese, unaware of the bizarre twist their adventure was yet to take. Their quest led them through forests and over hills, with Catherine applying her unique logic at every turn. She tried to heal trees with butter and sent cheese rolling down hills to find its way back to them. As night fell, they took refuge in a tree, unknowingly perched above the very thieves they sought. In a series of comical and unlikely events, Catherine dropped walnuts and vinegar on the thieves, mistaking them for hail and dew. Finally, in desperation, she dropped the door she had been carrying, startling the thieves into abandoning their camp and the stolen gold. Frederick and Catherine descended from the tree, bewildered but triumphant. They had recovered their gold, and more importantly, they had each other. As they walked back home, carrying a door and a bag of gold, they laughed at the absurdity of their adventure. Back home, with the door reattached and the gold safely hidden away, Frederick and Catherine sat down to a simple meal of bread and the few walnuts that had survived the adventure. The simplicity of the moment did not diminish their joy. If anything, it amplified it. They had embarked on a journey that tested their wits, patience, and resilience, only to return with their treasures and a trove of unbelievable stories. As they ate, Catherine looked at Frederick with a twinkle in her eye. "You know, Frederick, despite everything, we did make a great team," she said. Frederick, who had been mid-bite, stopped and looked at his wife. A smile broke across his face. The kind that reaches the eyes and lights up the room? Yes, Catherine, we certainly did. And think about the story we'll have to tell for years to come. In the days that followed, their cottage saw many changes. The pots and pans Catherine had acquired adorned every corner, serving as a constant reminder of their misadventures. Frederick, on the other hand, found a more secure place for their gold, though he now knew that the real treasure was his resourceful, if somewhat scatterbrained, wife. The village buzzed with tales of Frederick and Catherine's exploits. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others laughed, but all agreed on one thing: life in the village was certainly more colorful with them around. Years passed, and their story became legendary, a tale of love, folly, and unexpected wisdom. It was a story that parents told their children, and those children would, in turn, tell theirs, testament to the fact that sometimes the most nonsensical actions can lead to the most unforgettable adventures. And Catherine and Frederick, they lived contentedly, embracing each day with the knowledge that whatever life threw at them, they could face it together. Whether it was a missing steak, spilled beer, or a lost bag of gold, they knew that these were but mere bumps in the road. For in their hearts, they had found something far more valuable: a deep, unwavering love for each other, and the ability to laugh at the chaos of life. So, let their story be a lesson to all that happiness is not found in perfection but in embracing the imperfections of life and each other. And perhaps, just perhaps, in the willingness to chase a cheese down a hill if it means doing it together. If you like this story, please give this video a like and comment below with your thoughts. See you in the next story.